What is going on, Bears fans? Ryan Poles has gone silent. Now, if you are a betting man, then what you would say is he is no longer in support of Matt Eberflus, and he's trying to distance himself, as a GM generally does when it's time to move on from their head coach. Bad decision made. And he's stuck with Matt Eberflus for an extended period of time, and rumors came out a couple of weeks ago that Ryan Poles intended to make sure that Matt Eberflus was going to be here for the 2025 season, despite at the time the Chicago Bears were 4-2, a team that should have been maybe 5-1 at that point, who ended up being a 4-3 team, which should have been a 6-1 team. You get my point here. And as the wheels fell off, Matt Eberflus has started to drift, if you will, and we're not seeing any type of endorsement from Ryan Poles saying, hey, this is my guy, I trust in the process. So he's gone incredibly silent. And originally, again, we think that's going to be Matt Eberflus, but that apparently is not the case. We've got a report coming out, and I'm going to break it down for you. By the way, make sure you hit the like button on the way in and leave a comment down below. Do you want Ryan Poles to continue to be the GM of the Chicago Bears? By the way, I apologize about my mouth. I had 2 wisdom teeth extracted, so working on it. All right, guys, big report coming out says that Ryan Poles' authority has been frozen. He will not make any major organizational decisions for the rest of the season, only minor ones. This is why the Bears didn't make a notable move at the trade deadline, and his media appearances have been scaled back. Nobody disputes that he's made a lot of positive moves to build a good roster since taking over in 2022. He added Kyler Gordon, DJ Moore, Jervon Dexter, Montez Sweat, TJ Edwards, Darnell Wright, and Roma Dunze. Caleb Williams looks like a promising option at quarterback. Unfortunately, we also have some blunders. Chase Claypool, Nate Davis. This is the guy that drafted Dominique Robinson. This is the guy that drafted Velus Jones Jr. This is the guy who 3 years into a rebuild still doesn't have an offensive line to speak of. And here's the thing, guys. It should be noted, these players are not bad players. You don't get to the NFL by being bad. You get to the NFL and you become bad by being coached poorly. And look, there are people who are going to slide through the cracks, but you can't make this many mistakes. Ryan Bates has barely even had a chance to play. Coleman Shelton was a disaster in the beginning, but seems to have worked himself out. But you guys are watching Matt Pryor, a consistent player, make shifts that make absolutely no sense along with the rest of the offensive line, and leaving Caleb Williams exposed to blitzing sacks and things like that. The proper coverage scheme for the offensive line is simply not there. That's coaching. That is not these players. These players are assigned to do a job. So their coaching staff is failing them, and we're not giving them the opportunity along the way to make any sort of corrections. And what we're seeing now is a regression in Caleb Williams. And that has got Ryan Poles behind an 8-ball. Now, what happens next? It is my belief that Ryan Poles is gone. That Ryan Poles is clearly a problem on this team because of his belief in Matt Eberflus. And Matt Eberflus ultimately is the villain in this story. Now, it is my belief that Ryan Poles is in trouble, but could salvage it. The way that he salvages it is if Thomas Brown ends up being a miracle hire. And I don't think that he is. There's no reason to think that he's going to fundamentally change the way this offense runs because Matt Eberflus ultimately is still in charge. But in the event that he can change the dynamic of this team for a few weeks and give it some life on offense, the team will come around and they will respond to these coaches. If there's any problems at all, then the wheels will fall off. And it is more likely, by the way, that the wheels will fall off, that we will lose to Green Bay, that we will lose to the Vikings, we will lose to Detroit, we will run a long losing streak. And there is a real possibility at this point, because the Bears have the toughest remaining schedule, that the Chicago Bears could end this season 4-13. And to be fair, momentum should have been completely and utterly and just vastly different. So here we are. We're going to watch this thing play out. But in the event that the Bears put up no type of urgency in the game against Green Bay, I would suspect, number one, Matt Eberflus is gone. Number two, that Ryan Poles will come to the podium, and he will tell everybody that he is appointing Eric Washington temporary interim coach through the end of the season. And Chris Morgan most likely would be gone as well. Somebody else would take over at that point. And then in the offseason, there will be a new head coach. But the question now would be, is there going to be a new Ryan Poles remaking this team in a much better image? And look, take nothing away. Ryan Poles has improved the personnel of the Chicago Bears. But at the same time, Ryan Poles is also the guy who took Justin Fields and a team that was probably close to playoff ready and dismantled the entire team, getting rid of Khalil Mack, making plenty of different trades, trying to create opportunities and options for this team going forward in the future. However, it's just not working. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think Ryan Poles is gone? Do you think that Matt Eberflus has an opportunity to salvage this season? Do you think that there's any way that the Chicago Bears going into tomorrow's game can beat the Green Bay Packers and make this thing turn itself slowly around? Look, it has to be said, in the event that the Bears do win, the Bears would then be 5-5, which would be a much better record than they had at this point last season. So there really is the possibility that this Bears team could turn it around a little bit. And I do want to point out that up until this year, the Bears have really played very well against a team like Detroit. So if you pull off a Green Bay win, you pull off a Detroit win, you pull off another Detroit win, then you're looking at least having the same record as last year. And if you can beat the Vikings, and by the way, there's no reason to think that this Chicago Bears team, again, on the field, superior to the Minnesota Vikings, and even splitting with them last year, there's still a lot of positivity that the Bears could actually be a 9-8 or a 10-7 team. This would not be the team that makes the playoffs, like I told you guys, I thought in the beginning. But this could be a team that turns it around and looks a whole lot better. And by the way, it is my opinion. I don't want to sugarcoat this. It is my opinion that would be the worst thing that could happen to this team, because it would be another year of Matt Eberflus. They would make justifications on why he is the right guy. Thomas Brown is the right guy. Eric Washington, all of these guys are the right guy. Unless we get rid of Chris Morgan and we really focus on this offensive line, though, we have dramatic problems that will not fix themselves. And by the way, again, this is not the players on the offensive line. I don't want you to mistake that. I'm not talking about the players. I have faith in Braxton Jones. I don't think he's great. I think he's good. I don't have a problem with Darnell Wright. I think he's good, not great. Matt Pryor, same thing. Coleman Shelton, same thing. Ryan Bates coming off of IR, same thing. These are good, solid players. The one that was a problem, Nate Davis. Now, Tevin Jenkins might be gone at the end of this year, but he is replaceable. Karan Emagaji could be another one of these options. There are good players on this roster at these positions. Bill Murray, Doug Kramer. There are solid players. It's the scheme that sucks so far. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. We've got to do something about this offensive line. It's got to come from coaching. It can't be these players, because they're not calling the plays. All right, guys, we'll talk to you again very, very soon. Finally, I think the Bears are going to shock the world and beat the Packers in something of a revival. I don't know if that makes the team and turns it around, but I think that we're going to get a surprise outcome with a renewed amount of support and vigor for Thomas Brown executing this offense. I think we're going to see a lot of opportunities for Caleb Williams to really shine, and the fact that he's made it through 8 games so far, I think will give him this sort, or 9 games so far, will give him this impetus to have improved to the point that once he gets good play calling under his wing, that we will probably see a much better product on the field. But that's my take on it. You let me know what you think in the comments down below.